Hello, this is Dr. Shane, and I welcome you to this program, After the Affair. After the Affair, we're going to go over to the three. Hello, this is Dr. Shane, and I'm very excited about having you at this program, After the Affair. After the Affair, the three stages of healing from infidelity. And I just want to say welcome. I'm Dr. Shane. I opened my practice in 2003, over 18 years ago. Since that time, I've worked with 5,500 plus couples. So you're going to get the benefit of their successes and lessons learned. But I'll be honest with you, infidelity is a tough one to deal with. And if you're looking at these three stages of healing, we want you to know that you are not alone. And we're going to point out some things that everyone who goes through infidelity deals with. But I must say, many couples get on the other side and make it to their happily ever after. So we're going to start with the 7 myths of infidelity. Thanks. The 7 myths of infidelity. 7 myths of infidelity. I know a lot of people have heard and said things and read things about infidelity, but there are indeed some myths out there about infidelity. So we're going to dive. The 7 myths of infidelity. There's a lot of information out there about infidelity, like you should just get over it. Why can't you move on? Should you leave? Are you weak for not leaving? And it's a very complex challenge, and it's a difficult one to deal with. And we're just going to go through some of the myths associated with infidelity. All right. The first is that all couples, all infidelities are created equal, and that there is a universal, that's one definition of infidelity. That is a huge myth. So I'm going to give you 3 factors, really 4, that impact how infidelity may appear completely different. So the first are boundary violations. So different personality types have different boundaries. Some it's you got a text. Others it's you return the text. Some it became a call. Some it led to lunch. Some it led to dinner. Others, boy, it ended up with breakfast. Some you had sex with someone else. Some you had sex with someone else and you enjoyed them more than you did me. So some you had sex with someone else and you didn't invite me. Others, you had sex with someone else, you invited me, but you seemed to enjoy them more. Or afterwards, you said, I love you on a call when they called that person. And I've seen it all in terms of infidelity. So there really is no universal definition. We also have to look at how introverts and extroverts are different. Face it, couples, spouses, they hire the same and marry the opposite. They hire the same and they marry the opposite. So frequently I'll get introverts who are married to extroverts. I'll get introverts who are married to extroverts. And let me tell you, that could be an explosion. Why do I say that? So I think of it in terms of like money. Like let's take $1. Some of you have $1 bill, you're happy. Some people have 10 dimes. Some people have 20 nickels. Some have 4 quarters. Some have 2 50-cent pieces. Some people have 100 pennies. And that's in terms of what you consider a friend. How do you set up your friendships? What do your friendships mean to you? How many people do you let in your space? So if you are an introvert and you have 2 50-cent pieces or 4 quarters, and you are married to an extrovert who has 10 dimes, 20 nickels, or 100 pennies, you're going to have some tension around that because you are probably going to want them to get rid of all these people that are just hanging around. But they're wired differently and they put people in different places. And every friendship isn't created equal to them. So you're likely getting rid of people that they've worked it out with already, people that they know where they belong and they're okay. And the reason that that could be a challenge, because now someone else comes along and you got blood on your hand from the 5 or 8 or 10 other people you got rid of, and this person's a real threat. So we have to stop and look and accept that we are different. It doesn't mean if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel that there's been a violation, that it's your imagination. It doesn't mean you should accept a friendship that just doesn't work for you. It does mean, boy, you can't approach it like you would your own, because their relationship with friends is just different. Then we have misdemeanor versus felonies. Misdemeanors versus felonies. That's right. Someone comes home and they have a text. Misdemeanor. You walk home, you find your spouse in bed with someone else. Felony. So a lot of times we catch people in misdemeanors. In fact, studies have found with lawyers in legal battles with marriage, 71% involve some type of evidence related to a virtual infidelity, or they were caught virtually on the internet. And that's fine. It's just the challenge is when you get a text, you don't know what came before or after. Text could be from an ex, nice seeing you again, in South Africa. Sounds really bad, right? How these two people meet up. Boy, that's more than a coincidence. And you said you were going to a conference. I didn't know they'd be there. And you don't know what came before or after. So before could have come nothing, or could have been, I'll see you at the convention. Or, yeah, baby, let's hook up. And remember them good old days? Afterwards could have been, yeah, it was nice seeing you, but I'm happy in my marriage. I just wanted to say hi. I knew we'd be at the convention. Great. Could be, oh boy, what are you doing for dinner? Could be, what are you doing after dinner? Could be a lot of things. So you may say, well, how'd you meet up in South Africa? Well, the reality is we went to grad school. We met at grad school. We studied a specific language in dialect in South Africa. It's the only place in the world where it exists, or some breed of diamonds, or some type of animal or pet. And that's indigenous to that area. And so, yeah, of course we met up. There's nothing to it. That's what I say about virtual infidelity. You got to have the context. Hard to break up a family for virtual infidelity. And then you have happy and unhappy cheaters. And I'm going to give a whole section on those in a second, because they're not to be seen as the same, because they are not the same. So let's look at happy and unhappy cheaters. So the myth is all cheaters are created equal. If you did it, you are a cheater. And that is true. That is true. If someone's committed infidelity, they just have. But let me talk to you about happy and unhappy cheaters. So if a couple comes in, I say what was going on, they were unhappy. Oh my God, I have a big sigh of relief. Like, thank you, God. You're probably like, what are you talking about, Doc? You've lost it. No, I can't make a happy spouse happier. If they cheat, I'm like, do we have a Tiger Woods or Kevin Hart? Do we have sexual addiction here? What am I really dealing with? Whereas if a person or a spouse or both of you is unhappy, whew, okay, let's fix the problem. And that's the challenge with infidelity. We always have to ask, is it the problem or the symptom of a greater problem? If a couple is unhappy, it may very well just be a symptom of the fact that you're unhappy, and unhappy people do a lot of things. So fasten your seatbelt, because we're going to take a deeper dive into what all of this stuff means. So are all infidelities created equal? You still have that question. I am going to answer it for you now, or begin to answer. So I have 4 infidelities here. I have sexual, I have financial, I have emotional, and I have virtual. And no matter which one you got, you are probably hurt, and you may be even devastated and looking at breaking up your family. So when it comes down to the final analysis, what's the difference? What's the same? So what is the same is if you felt betrayal and if you felt rejection. If you felt betrayed and rejection, then in your world, or in your spouse's world, they felt it was an infidelity. So to them, it was an infidelity. You're not going to dismiss it by saying, well, it was just virtual, or boy, they just performed oral sex, or, well, we worked together and we just got really, really close. Or, boy, you didn't tell me about that loan you signed in my name. In their world, it is an infidelity. So that is the common denominator that you need to really be concerned around. So the next myth is an interesting one because couples always ask me, do men cheat more than women? Do men cheat more than women? Yes, but no, or not really. The numbers are 52 to 48%, which is about the same, 52 to 48%. And they said men are more likely to be honest in that survey than women. So it could be 50-50, who knows? The difference is how they cheat. Women have soulmates that they usually cheat with. Men have playmates. Women have soulmates. Men have playmates. So they are very different things because a soulmate is a much bigger threat to your relationship or marriage than a playmate might be. People don't leave marriages and families for playmates. So another thing couples come in that's a real big one for them is, should I confess? Kind of to confess or not to confess. And I want to say there are 3 schools of thought.
Your voice.
I want to say there are 3 schools of thought on that. When I first went to grad school, I had a distinguished marital psychologist by the name of Dave Smith who taught me, and he said never, under any circumstances, do you have them confess, or someone in my position push for a confession. For years, I went by this. That was his school of thought. I said, Doc, why would you say that, though? It doesn't make sense to me. It would just fess up. He says, well, the challenge is when you confess, the person that confesses gets to feel better, and the other person's devastated. I did the right thing, I told you, and the other person just has to deal with it. So for years, that was my school of thought. Then I started working with Dr. Gottman and his wife, and I was at a training, and Dr. Julie Gottman, his wife, said, you tell everybody, even the kids, even the in-laws. And I was like, Dr. Gottman, help me out here. I was like, Dr. Gottman, help me out here. You mean the in-laws and the kids? Everybody. I said, well, why do you confess? I thought confessing wasn't good. She said, otherwise the other person has to think, am I crazy? Am I crazy? And they can't ever move forward because their story doesn't pass. Because your story doesn't pass their smell test and they stay stuck. I was like, but the kids and, black and brown community, someone might get cut. You tell mine you cheated on their baby boy, or dad, you cheated on his baby girl. It's just going to get ugly, right? So those are the 2 schools of thought. The third school of thought is it's just a case by case, just case by case, And so, there's some cases where it's like, boy, I got someone that's got this violent, crazy history. Let's think about doing it, or if we're going to do it, how are we going to do it? So it just kind of depends. So a lot of times there is this myth that if you don't just get over it, you want to stay stuck. You want to live in the past. You want to be angry. You want to hold this over my head forever. Just get over it. Just get over it. And it seems like people should, but just because someone can't get over it doesn't mean they don't want to. They don't want to. Very difficult thing to do. And we'll talk about that a little bit in this program. But part of the thing is once they do, they may get re-triggered. They may get re-triggered. So this isn't like a light switch. It's like a dimmer, because PTSD frequently sets in when there's an infidelity. So I am Dr. Shane, and I just want to ask one question. No matter which of these myths you've heard are impacting your life, things aren't like you thought they would be. Can I be real with you? You are not alone. You are not alone. This stuff is difficult to deal with. It's difficult to deal with. And I am Dr. Shane. I've worked with 5,500 plus couples since opening my... It's difficult to deal with. And I am Dr. Shane. I'm a marital psychologist. I went to grad school at The Ohio State University, undergrad at Southern in Baton Rouge. Started my practice in 2003. And I've been fortunate enough to speak on marriage for the Congressional Black Caucus, a range of news sites, and just champion this in our community. And it's just been a great experience to be able to do so. Over 5,500 plus couples have sat on my black tufted couch since opening my practice 18 years ago. And you'll get the benefit of their successes and lessons learned. You know, a lot of these couples, they don't appear on the nightly news, but they are newsworthy, and it's been amazing to watch them fight for their families. I wrote a book, or better yet, the clients, the women on my couch, wrote a book about their experiences and how, boy, when you are a black woman getting married, the rules are different. The rules are different. I was fortunate enough to have this book appear on the Roland Martin show, which was a lot of fun, and several other media sources. And it was a pleasure. As we go through this program and I wrap up with this 7 myths section, I want to say we will go to the 3 stages. We will go through, I want to say we will go through I want to let you know during this program, we will be going through the 3 stages of infidelity. It's after the affair, the 3 stages of healing and recovering from infidelity. Stage 1 is reaction. Stage 2 is reviewing your options. And stage 3 is rebuilding. I look forward to seeing you in the program. How's that sound?
I like it. Yeah.
I was surprised by it.
Just always, but you don't do a whole lot at all. But sometimes when you start to make sense, you.
Okay, I'll be able to edit that out. Oh, I forgot something. Okay, I'm going to say this part. Let me just say divorce rates drop as much as 30% with an intervention. Divorce rates drop as much as 30% with an intervention. And I want you to know it's never too late to live your happily ever after. Lesson 2. Lesson 2, we're going to go into the 3 stages. The first stage is the reaction stage. And this begins as soon as you discover this affair. No matter how long it's been going on, no matter how long ago it might have been, you discover it immediately. You are in reaction. Immediately you are in the reaction phase. Stage number 1, and you are, boom, life is no longer the same. Cannot believe you did this to me. A range of emotions go through you: anger, frustration, despair, shock, regret. Oh my God, how could X, Y, and have happened? Why didn't I catch it? Why didn't I see it? Boy, maybe even if I had done X or Y differently. Confusion. I thought you loved me. I thought you were at a better place. Betrayal, and maybe even denial. Betrayal being the hardest thing to deal with, because I do understand that couples go into a marriage saying, boy, over the next 30, 40, 50 years, something could happen. But no one, and I mean no one is prepared. No one, and I mean no one is prepared for the betrayal. And the betrayal is simply this. Betrayal is, I looked you in the eye and I told you I was going to the IHOP with my boys and we got bad pancake syrup. And that's why I was out till 6 a.m. and we went to drink so that we could get it off our shirts. It's some crazy random story, right? And you're there left to believe it. You ain't like that story, huh? I looked you in the eye. I said that all my friends were there. We were at the pancake house. I wasn't at the pancake house. I was at her place and told you a bold-faced lie, then told you 50 lies to cover that up, maybe even 100. So initially, we will be reactive. Initially, the shock and all those emotions will result in you being reactive. What this program is designed to do is to help you become proactive, Frequently making a decision about your future, well, it's everybody's experience that they're going to be reactive. proactivists, boy, we need to think this through, especially if we have kids involved. So again, can I be real with you? You are not alone. And this isn't the time to be alone. You will need a sounding board. You will need some strategies to help you make that transition from reactive to proactive. Because proactively, we can do a lot of things we can't undo. And that's on both sides. So, what will happen to my family is the first thought. If you have children that every person thinks about, how will they be impacted? What will it mean for them not to have a two-parent home? What will it mean for them to be who they will become, who our family will become based on this affair? And I tell you, a lot of spouses stay because of their children. And we sometimes say they're weak if they stay because of their children. I don't think so. I've come to see that very differently. And I'm not here to say whether you should stay or leave. I'm just saying staying doesn't make you weak. Leaving doesn't necessarily make you brave or wise. It's just you're in a tough situation, and we have to really look and help you figure out, given all the factors, what's the best decision for you. So leaving is also interesting when all infidelities aren't created equal. When all infidelities aren't created equal, like leaving for a sexual affair or an emotional affair that lasted for a period of year at times, more common than a virtual affair or a financial infidelity, even though the virtual affair could have been possibly, even though the virtual affair could have been more threatening in that they were just very close and it happened for a long period of time, or the financial affair could have even involved some criminal activity. As I said in the intro, the commonalities between these affairs are betrayal and rejection. And if you have that sense of betrayal and rejection, you still have to look and say, hey, given everything that's going to impact my family, what's the best decision for me? Because a lot of times these results will be different based on the type of affair, but ultimately it still may not be what you decide to do in terms of looking at your family. So if it were just you and them, yeah, you could leave probably pretty easy, but it isn't the same. Anyway, it's just something to think about, because I see a lot of spouses go through this and it causes them to end up feeling like, boy, what's wrong with me? I'm weak. And part of the questions that we have to ask people is, well, how do you forgive yourself? What do you mean forgive myself? I haven't done anything. No, I don't mean forgive yourself for their affair. I mean forgive yourself from the standpoint of, hey, if you do stay, I'm doing the best thing for my family. Let me figure this out. Let me get more information. Let me see if you really are trying to change here. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a couple of slides. So there's another challenge, and that is staying, but you have misdemeanor evidence or a misdemeanor offense. Don't get me wrong, betrayal and rejection is felony to a lot of people, but it still may not rise to the level of I could break my family up for that. Or you might have misdemeanor evidence, like virtual evidence, misdemeanor, and a lot of times very difficult to break up a family for that, whereas felony, you walk in, you catch them, it's a lot easier. But the bigger challenge for a lot of couples becomes once you catch somebody, once you catch your spouse, is both of you end up doing jail time on death row. And we get in this place where we have this very dead, dysfunctional relationship. Nobody's happy, and we don't make ourselves safer. We make ourselves at greater risk for future offenses or just to break up altogether. Anyway, something to think about. Do they belong in your doghouse if they've betrayed you? Absolutely. Am I saying they shouldn't be there? No. Am I saying how long they should be there? No. Just make sure you do as little time with them there as possible, and that your family does too. So let's look at what could happen to your families. I guarantee you, and I promise you, this isn't a scare technique. These are just facts. And I always talk with spouses about this. So traditional divorce rates, 45 to 50%, 45 to 50%. blended families. All right. If you or your spouse, one of you, have children from another relationship or marriage, divorce rate goes up to 65%. If you both do, divorce rates go up to 70%. 70%. And usually it's not because you can't get along with the kids. Now you got this other person, ex spouse out there, and you may have an ex spouse that's none too happy about the marriage ending. And things just get very difficult very fast, and the divorce rates just shoot up. Plus, people manipulate their kids, as sad as that might be. Anyways, I don't want you to worry. I don't want you to panic. I want you to know divorce rates, no matter what, drop as much as 30% with an intervention. That's right, as much as 30% with an intervention. And so, again, it's never too late to live your happily ever after, no matter what's happened. I look forward again to seeing you two in the. I look forward to seeing you two in the next section, the next lesson, where we will go into the second stage, reviewing your option. The second stage of recovering from infidelity, where we will talk about reviewing your options. The second the second stage where we will talk about reviewing your options. After the affair, the three stages of healing from infidelity, we are now in the third lesson where we look at reviewing your options. That's right, reviewing your options. And this is an interesting stage because a lot of times we think that there are two options. In the second in the In the second phase, we will look at reviewing your options. Reviewing your options. And this stage is very important. A lot of times we think there's two options. Do I stay or do I go? And those are two options, but there's the third, and we'll talk about that a little later. Can I stay and fix it? Can we stay and fix it? Can we stay and fix it? Can we stay and fix it? So, after an affair, there is a civil war. There is a civil war brewing, and it's the battle between your head and your heart. That's right. Your brain says, danger, danger, Will Swift, get out of here. Get out of here. Go, run, Forrest, run, leave. Your heart says, boy, I love you. This would be the rest of our life. How could you do this to me? How could it happen? What could we do differently? How will our kids be impacted? All of those matters of the heart just come flushing to you at once. And it is a civil war. And if you, with your spouse, and you're watching this, I want you to look in their eyes when I ask this question. And that question is civil war. Civil war. What is it like to wage that battle between your heart and your head, between their heart and your head? If you've just had an affair on them, they are probably liquid-eyed, they're emotional, they are teary, they may be even crying because it is a fatiguing thing, and it is with them 24/7, all day, every day. It's heavy, it's a big boulder upon them. But people don't wage that war unless they want it to work. Unless they want it to work.
Clear your throat.
Don't just interrupt me like that.
No, I didn't. You were done. That's why I stopped. That's why I stopped. Clear your throat.
I know you are. I'm just saying, but when my eyes turn, it's like up here they're
I
turning.
know, but that's why I didn't clear.
Okay. It is a civil war between their heart and their head, and it can be a weighty, weighty, weighty thing, and we want to get that weight off them. So let's look at the civil war, the battle between your head and your heart. So face it, we want them to get over it. We just hurt them. They want to get over it. They don't want this weight on them, and we make the mistake of thinking it is a light switch. Oh, I'm Jack. Let me reintroduce myself to you, baby. We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to start all over. Let's just reintroduce ourselves. And sure, tries it. Next day, PTSD gets re-triggered. You feel like they're not sincere. Well, trust rebuilding, it's a little bit more involved than that. And it's a very delicate thing. Even though you may have years of good time, you're like, that should get me off the hook. It should erase your hurt. It should let you know I'm sincere. No, except that's why they're fighting that civil war, because the years of the good times outweigh it. So it's not a light switch. It's more like a dimmer. Definitely not an on and off switch, and it will take some time, and there will be setbacks no matter who you are. And it's like the heart is saying, you never learn, you never learn. The brain is saying, no, you're the one that never learns. You're the one that never learns. So how long should it take? I get this question a lot. People say, this happened 4 years ago. This happened 4 days ago, 4 weeks ago. How long should it happen? Are they serious about being married again? Do they want to be angry? Why can't they just get over it? Why can't I just get over it? A lot of them ask. And I say, you may want to get over it. You are waging a civil war and tired of it. But PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, can get re-triggered at any point. At any point. I had a couple once, and the wife called me, and she was watching an old magazine, and they had a red scarf, and the mistress had been sent a red scarf, and she just saw this thing and just started bawling. We hadn't seen each other in months, and she called me, and she was hysterical. She came in a week later. I was really busy, and boy, some of the things we put in place that we're going to put in place in this course, they have a lot of stickiness. And over the next few days, she had worked through it herself. So even there are setbacks. I don't want you to always panic and hit the red button. Sometimes I want you to accept, boy, this is part of the process. They will get re-triggered, but ultimately, in many cases, they will recover. So one of the things that people do when they get re-triggered, or when their spouse keeps getting re-triggered on them in some cases, they want to break up. So let me tell you, breaking up is hard to do, period. And if there's misdemeanor evidence, it's almost impossible. If it's felony evidence, it's still pretty difficult. But we frequently love our family more than we love ourselves. I'll say that one more time. We frequently love our family more than we love ourselves. I'm going to say that a third time. We frequently love our families more than we love ourselves. So it is a very, very difficult thing to do. And I want you to know that doesn't make you weak. Just breaking up is a very, very hard. Breaking up. Hold up. Breaking up is a very hard thing to do, and breaking up a family can be close to impossible. Close to impossible. So just know you are not alone. Breaking up a family is very hard to do, and I just want you to know breaking up is hard to do, period. Often we love our family more than we love ourselves. We love our family more than we love ourselves. It's just a fact. And sometimes, boy, we take ones for the team because we love our family more than ourselves. And breaking up with the family is almost impossible to do. So it's difficult. Just I want you to sit back as you review your options. Do you have misdemeanor or felony evidence? Have you tried talking to someone? What are some other things you can do so that you know that you know that you know if you decide to break up because it is so hard to do? There's a third option. And the third option is, can I stay and fix it? Can I stay and fix it? Did my spouse level up? Did they woman or man up? Did they come clean? Did we address some of the problems that were in the marriage that were causing it and not just focus on the symptoms? Did we say, hey, I'm committed to rebuild trust? There's just a lot of ways, but I want you to know couples do it all the time. Couples find a way to repair things, and it is possible, particularly if you get professional help. It is possible. And like I said, I see couples do it all the times, and divorce rates drop as much as 30%. It is possible. I see couples do it all the time, and I want you to know divorce rates drop as much as 30% with an intervention. So don't panic. You're not alone, and it just may not be the end, even though it may definitely feel like it. So the thing now is I want you to listen to them. I want you to listen to yourself. Listen to the conversation. Are they minimizing, defending, and invalidating? That's right. Are they minimizing, defending, and invalidating? Or are they taking ownership? Saying, hey, here's my part. Here's what I did. I can't continue to think I could go out till 5 in the morning. I'm willing to make some changes to make you feel comfortable. Also, ask yourself in the marriage, are you two dealing with the problem? I mean, we hadn't spoke, we hadn't been intimate, we hadn't connected, we were angry at each other all the time. Are we dealing with the problem and not just focusing on the symptoms? So those are all things you need to listen to them, listen to yourself, and make some decisions about. So to leave, a lot of couples think it is about trust. And I'm here to say it isn't really about trust. Don't get me wrong. It is hard to be with a person you can't trust. And trust is everything in a relationship or marriage. The problem is you just can't. As much as I wish I could give you a pill to take. Trust is a very hard thing to prove. You can't prove or disprove a negative. All you know for sure is you don't have it. And you will need closure. Instead, why closure? Closure is something different than trust. We're not going to get trust, but the closure is this. To break up your family, you will need closure that they're just not ever doing this again, or closure that this is all they're going to do again. And that takes time, but the challenge is closure. To break up a family, you will need closure. You will need to know that you know that you know that this is who they are no matter what, even if you guys deal with the problems and don't just focus on the symptoms. You fix the problem. They still did it. You get to walk away great. They don't get to walk away great. They get to walk away feeling like crap, like, wow, you gave me all the freedom there was, and I just wasn't the person that could take it up on, or we weren't the people that could do it together. Either way, you have closure. You could go on with your life. It's hard. It's especially hard if you don't have felony evidence, particularly misdemeanor evidence of a misdemeanor, or even misdemeanor evidence of a felony. It's just very difficult. So what can you trust? You can trust that if you give it your best, if you two work on the problems and they still do it, that's who they are. You can trust them to be them. If they're not clean cheaters, if they're not neat cheaters, they're not going to become that. If they leave a trail of breadcrumbs, they are going to always leave a trail of breadcrumbs. But what you can also trust is this. You likely will be never as vulnerable as you were that first time. You will probably never be that vulnerable, so you're very unlikely to experience that same degree of pain and hurt because you're just not that person that came into it. So it's a rough one, But you have to decide that, hey, you know what? I need to figure out how am I going to go on with my life in the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. And how do I do that? So, what I want you to do, what I want you to do is look at the facts. Are they good versus bad cheaters? Were they happy? Were they unhappy? If they were unhappy, did we fix the problems? Hey, bad cheaters leave breadcrumbs. You'll probably always be able to see through them. Plus, you'll be a lot more vigilant and your antennas will be on. And if they do stuff like come home with lipstick, or they do stuff like have a different relationship with their phone, you will pick up on this a lot earlier. So trust the cheater, if that's the case, to be who they are, and trust that you'll find out about it. So trust is a very fragile thing, and it is very difficult to put together. So trust is a very, very fragile thing. It's very difficult to put together. And you may be wondering if you could ever put Humpty Dumpty back together again. But I've seen couples have richer relationships. I'm not here to forgive anyone's infidelity. I'm not here to say, boy, their cheating made us a happier couple. No. Infidelity frequently gets couples through the door to get the help that they needed long ago. So infidelity kind of has that way, but it is difficult to put trust back together again. Hopefully the person realizes in that time it's just not worth it to do again. And I want to say to the person that committed the infidelity, if you're listening to this call, it is very unfair to ask them to trust you 100%. It's very difficult, and that has to be earned through time. So they can't just turn on this light switch. As I said, it's a dimmer, and you're going to have to put in the work if you want them to trust you. Again, and I say divorce rates drop. Studies have found as much as 30% with an intervention, such like this. Divorce rates drop as much as 30%. So just because you had an infidelity doesn't mean it's too late to live your happily ever after. In our final session, we will be looking In our final lesson, we'll be looking at the 3 stages of healing from infidelity, the 3 stages, and we will be looking at rebuilding your life, rebuilding your life. So we'll see you in session number 4.
You're done.
No, I gotta wait. I gotta call this couple and tell them that I'm gonna be about 5 minutes late.
Oh, you got something to add to
Yeah.
that?
Please leave your message for.
Hey Edna, this is Dr. Shane. Edna, this is Dr. Shane. Just calling to see if we're still meeting at 7. Calling to see if we're still meeting at 7. Make it a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye. Perfect. Okay, let me go to the last stage. All right. We're finally in our last phase that we're going to look at in lesson number 4, and that is rebuilding trust. Rebuilding trust. Hello? Yes, are we meeting tonight? Okay, give me 7 minutes. I'll be on a call in 7 minutes, okay? All right, thank you. Bye-bye. So we are on the last phase, and that is rebuilding trust. This is lesson number 4 in infidelity. I thank you for getting this far. We are now looking at rebuilding our lives together. We have decided that, okay, we made peace with our reaction. We went from reactive to proactive. We looked and we reviewed, what do we want to do? What are our options? Do I stay? Do I go? And you decided to stay and fix it. Now we are talking about how do we rebuild our life. Now we are talking about how do we rebuild our lives. So let's just dive into the rebuild phase. How do we connect? So the first thing I want you to ask is, what is this elephant doing in our room? What was this elephant doing in our room? And how do we figure out what was the problem? Because we still have to deal with that, and we don't want to focus exclusively on the symptom. If you had different love languages and you need quality time, and their love language was gifts, and all they did was got you more gifts, they have to figure out, let's do a staycation. Let's do a staycation. So we really have to look and figure out what were the problems. How do we fix it? Because gifts aren't that bad, but we can't give gifts to someone who likes quality time in place of ourselves. So I want to start out by saying, when we look at the elephant in the room, research by Dr. Gottman has discovered and found that frequently I don't want to slide on this one. Research by Dr. Gottman has found that frequently, the betrayer felt betrayed before the betrayal. You heard that. I'll say that again. Frequently, the betrayer felt betrayed before the betrayal. Usually before someone does something like commits an infidelity, they have an axe to grind. There's something in the relationship that was a problem that we didn't detect. It could be the other case, like, boy, I get you all these gifts. My love language is physical touch. You wouldn't have sex with me. You rejected me. And I was killing myself for the family, and it just wasn't enough for you. One example. You just have to figure out what was the problem and what's the symptom of the problem, so that we make sure that we really get the elephant out of the room, So I ask you, boy, what was your shotgun moment? What was that? So I ask you, what was that shotgun moment? What was that thing that you should have heard when they were trying to talk about their challenge, their problem, and you said, no, you don't have a problem with quality time. Your problem is you're just an ingrate. What was that shotgun moment where they were trying to talk to you and say, hey, let's figure out this. Let's not have it get worse. We're getting disconnected, and I think trouble's on the horizon. Let's figure out what was the shotgun moment. So I just want to say, because happy cheaters and unhappy cheaters are different people. I can't do much if a person has impulse control. I can't do much if someone has a sexual addiction. Boy, that's a selection challenge. I just chose the wrong somebody in many cases, or I'm going to ride out in treatment with you. So I would just want to make sure that we are able to figure out really what was the problem and what was the symptom of the problem. I know I've repeated this now on 3 slides, and I talked about it earlier, but when we start talking about rebuilding our life together, we have to get to the problem and get it fixed. And sometimes, I'll be honest, if not frequently, this involves the help of a professional. So I want to warn you, and I feel bad about this warning, but remaining in the relationship angry can be lethal. Remaining in the relationship and remaining angry can be lethal. You are angry because you want to protect yourself. You say, I'm going to hold my breath. I'm not going to love you for the next 20 years. And every time you do something, I think you do something, I'm going to make your life hell. Originally, works, person feels contrition. But eventually, the person will come to resent you or will not emotionally invest in this version of you. Is that right? No. Do you deserve to be pissed off? Absolutely. Is anger well-deserved? Undoubtedly. I'm just saying it doesn't make you safer. It puts you at more risk. That strong feeling of rage, irritation, pique, displeasure, or hostility will likely blow up in your face because people are funny. They forget the situation they put you in. Instead, many cases, they will remember. People are funny. They forget the situation over time that they put you in, and they simply remember your reaction to it. Like, this is who you are. I had it wrong at first. You were just this angry person, and that is horrible. And I hate it for you, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So I'm just saying it's dangerous, and it gets people in trouble. So anger will change you, and it will make you more likely to get hurt again. You will become resentful. You will shut down a lot. You will be irritated more often than not. You will lash out. You will shut down on them intimately. And that isn't good for, especially for a marriage that was already in trouble. Does it mean that you should immediately be vulnerable and open yourself up to them? Absolutely not. Maybe foolish. Maybe you don't have enough trust to do that. And they need to deal with that. I'm just saying, deciding to become this 2.0 version of yourself, it just could lead to a lot of pain. I'm just saying, staying and being angry can lead to a lot of pain, and instead of making you more safe, it could make you more vulnerable again, and I don't wish that on my worst enemy. So the next thing is difficult in a different way. Forgiving yourself. Well, why do I have to forgive myself for my affair? Well, if you decided to stay, I guarantee you are having some questions run through your mind, particularly the people in your life know about it. Am I weak? This has happened 5 times now. Am I stupid? I didn't want to teach my kids this. My son and my daughter was watching. All the things that run through your mind. And people make decisions for a variety of reasons. A lot of times their love for their family or their overall love for the person and the positive just outweighs that. And really they hope it could change. So if you've decided to stay, one of the most difficult things I find is for people to forgive themselves. Forgive themselves. It's like Christianity, most religions teach you turn the other cheek, forgive other people. But they don't talk about forgiving ourselves. And we really, if you stay, have to find a way to forgive yourself. I don't think staying, when I first started, I did. I thought only weak people stayed. It was like years ago, right? After about my first week as a marital psychologist, I realized these people had strengths I didn't have. I mean, I really admire some of the people that stayed and the sacrifices they made for their family. It doesn't mean stay the same. It doesn't mean don't address the problem. It doesn't mean be a doormat. It means, okay, let's figure out how to create a win-win here, because right now we're creating win-loses. So the antidote for being angry and staying and being angry is remaining right. Now, this is a hard part, and you're not going to like what I am about to say. But as I said, frequently, infidelities not the problem. It's a symptom of another problem. If we could see both our roles in it, boy, I could see where I'm right. But you could have, had some more of your needs met, and I could have did some different things by you. Boy, we may be on our road to being happy. If I could see where you were wrong here, but where I was wrong there, we could move from being right to being effective. So being right is creating win-losers. Being effective or being happy is creating win-wins. And that is the problem you and me, or is it you and me versus the problem? And we have to figure out how to be us versus the problem. So the next question is, why can't I just get over it? I've stayed, and there are days where I'm re-triggered. I mean, I saw that red scarf. Or I was at the hairdresser and one of her friends walked in. Whatever may trigger you, or a song came by. It's just the possibilities are endless, and you're asking yourself, why can't I just get over it? And I say, we don't have to get over it. We just have to come to terms with it. Very hard to get over things in life, but we have to come to terms with that's where we were. We had some problems in our relationship and our marriage, and we fixed them, and that's not us no more. Anyway, so PTSD is something that does get triggered. It's getting blindsided. I think one of the fundamental things I've learned is couples can prepare for the likelihood that someone will be unfaithful. They can't get past the betrayal. That person that they trust is blindsiding them. And that is what we call post-traumatic stress syndrome. And what it means simply is it was something I couldn't expect, like a thunderstorm. More extreme would be war. More extreme would be rape. But it doesn't mean that loss of control doesn't have the same impact on us. So PTSD, we might have flashbacks. We might remain fearful, become angry, hypervigilant thoughts, fears, and just any little incident seems like it could set us off. I just want you to know over time, you won't go down as low and you won't stay as long. And sometimes you may be even able to come to terms with it. So to the person out there that did the offending, the partner that committed the infidelity, you are probably going to be pissed off and you are wondering why can't they get over it. So this is the part where I say, hey, if you haven't been straightforward, don't ask them to get over it. If you haven't been straightforward, don't ask them to get over it, because they could see that there are holes in your story and it's not passing their smell test. That's called the Zarganic effect. We can't close the loop. We can't close the loop. She or he can't close the loop because your story about the pancake or Waffle House that night doesn't make sense. They know you don't eat pancakes. They called the pancake house. The pancake house closed at 10 o'clock on that night, and they can't. So you have to decide, hey, are you going to come clean or not come clean? Because your story isn't passing their smell test. There's a missing piece. There is a missing piece to that story. There is a missing piece to that story that's keeping them stuck. And most danger is done in the cover-up. Most of the danger to a relationship is done in a cover-up. So you really just have to ask yourself some hard questions, especially if you want them to move forward. Just 1 second. Tell them 8:20.
Your time?
Yeah. So I get back to confess or not to confess or not to confess. And the 3 schools of thoughts. One is you don't say anything, as I said earlier. In the 7 myths, that was my original impression, because the person who confesses gets off easy. I realized that doesn't work because the other person has to think that they're crazy. I talked to Dr. Gottman's wife. She said you confess. And the reason that you confess is because the other person will think that they're crazy. And, I think that's something to think about for everybody. Uh, the third school of thought is simply this, case by case. Sometimes we have to really just be honest with ourselves and say, hey, can this person move on if they don't believe me? If the person seems to be moving on, is it worth it to dig all that up? These are all the questions that we have to ask ourselves. So, throughout this whole experience, this whole journey, I just want to say again, divorce rates drop as much as 30% with an intervention. This is the start. If you need more of an intervention, you can make an appointment. And you can start to get some of the help with the professional that will really help you start to move forward and start to. Divorce rates drop as much as 30% with an intervention, as much as 30%. So thanks for being on this journey with me. This is an intervention. Divorce rates drop as much as 30% with an intervention. If you still need help, hey, talk to a professional. Get the support that you really need. I know you may say that's a big investment, but sometimes we just need the help. I guarantee you these seats are a lot cheaper than the attorney seats, which are $450 an hour. And they're going to ask you for $5,000 and you for $5,000, Mr. or Miss. And that's going to be for a 3-week retainer. So anyways, think about it. Get the support that you need no matter what. I want you to know that lightning can't strike the same place twice. If you guys had the friendship, the relationship, and just connected, chances are you can get that back. You have to put in the work. But I know people say, oh, lightning never strikes the same place twice. In one lightning storm, the Sears Tower was struck 17 times, because the elements were there. The lightning rods, the ions, just like you have friendship, you have compatibility, you get each other, similar values, positive history, communication, ability to talk. Chances are you will get to the other side and lightning will strike and rekindle your marriage again. So finally, it's never too late to live your happily ever after. This is Dr. Shane. It's been my pleasure to have you in this program, and I look forward to seeing you in our membership site. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.